In last video, we have discussed the features of natural resources. In this, we have discussed the types of pollutions, and we have also discussed the water cycles in this chapter, and this is the very important and precious topic. So you all have to please keep revise all the last topic which we have discussed in last video, and that is soil pollution, water pollution, land pollution, and also we have discussed lots of things like we have discussed the biotic and abiotic factors. Here we will also discuss today what is the meaning of biotic and abiotic factors. Okay, so depending upon the natural resources, we generally discuss lots of things which type of resources are generally given by the natures. Okay, and how we are using and how we are disrupting also. So depending upon the nature and their uses, natural resources is a very vast things, and these are very present in our nature in a very diverse in natures. So we have discussed lots of things. Apart from that, today we are going to discuss the most important, and that is the biochemical cycle, and it is your last topic of that chapter. Okay, after that your chapter will be totally completed, because all the topics I have discussed in my last 2 videos. Okay, so this is your last videos for that chapter also. Now, most important, today we are going to discuss that what is the meaning of biochemical cycles. Biochemical cycles, bio means life, and chemicals means different types of chemical substance. When they are coming to the bioresources, that becomes an biochemical cycle. जब अलग अलग substance की चीजें जब हमारे bioresources के साथ add हो जाते हैं, that comes is a class of biochemical cycles. Okay, so most important अगर हम बात करते हैं, biochemical cycles means it is a cycle in which the interaction between biotic and abiotic components, means that is the interaction between the biotic and abiotic components. अगर हम बात करते हैं तो biotic और abiotic components का मतलब क्या होता है. Suppose we are going to discuss that abiotic, okay, and biotic. So what is the meaning of biotic and abiotic? So there is the two types of meanings are generally considered in abiotic and biotic. Biotic means those which are living are called biotic components, and those which are non-living are called abiotic components. Okay, so firstly we have to clear the meaning of biochemical cycle. Okay, we will also discuss how the biotic and abiotic characters also influence the natural resources. Okay, so first and most important, biochemical cycles means it is the interaction between the biotic and abiotic components of the biosphere. Biosphere means bio means life, okay, एंड स्पेयर मीन्स अर्थ. हमारे अर्थ पे जो भी लाइफ साइकिल चलती है ह्यूमन बींग्स के, प्लांट्स के एंड एनिमल्स के, दैट आर टोटली डिपेंडेंट ऑन द बायोकेमिकल साइकिल, एंड इट कम्स इन द क्लास ऑफ अबायोटिक एंड बायोटिक फैक्टर्स. बायोटिक में जितने भी लिविंग्स होंगे, चाहे वो ह्यूमंस हैं, एनिमल्स हो या प्लांट्स हो. अबायोटिक की बात करते हैं विच कम्स इन द क्लास ऑफ टेम्परेचर, पीएच एंड सनलाइट, वाटर और एयर. ये सब नॉन लिविंग्स है, दैट कम्स इन द क्लास ऑफ अबायोटिक. तो अबायोटिक और बायोटिक के बीच का जो इंटरेक्शन होता है, इन दोनों आपस में बहुत सारी चीजों का इंटरेक्शन करते हैं, ठीक है, दैट इज कम्स इन द क्लास ऑफ बायोकेमिकल साइकिल. क्योंकि विदाउट द इंटरेक्शन बिटवीन अबायोटिक कंपोनेंट्स, बायोटिक ऑर्गेनिज्म मींस लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म इज टोटली इनकम्प्लीट. क्योंकि अगर इनके बीच का साइकिल प्रॉपर नहीं होगा तो ये दोनों एक दूसरे के इनकम्प्लीट होंगे. व्हाई? बिकॉज इफ द लिविंग बीइंग्स आर नॉट गेटिंग all the things in a proper way, it means they are called as incomplete way. Okay, so ये इनके बिना incomplete होंगे, क्योंकि sunlight नहीं मिलेगा, water नहीं मिलेगा, air नहीं मिलेगा, soil नहीं मिलेगा. इन सारी चीज़ों की वजह से living beings पे बहुत बड़ा effect पड़ेगा. So that is the most important. They do lots of interaction among themselves. तो इनके बीच में interaction बहुत जरूरी है. Okay, now next, coming to the next important part, we have to discuss that how the biochemical cycles are generally distributed. So biochemical cycles are generally distributed on the basis of the water cycle. इनमें water cycle बना हुआ है. Water cycle we have discussed in last video, how the water cycles are generally get formation and how the clouds are formed. Water cycle में हमने पढ़ा evaporation, heat, condensation, then cloud formation, then it gets then a bigger size, it burst out and it fall into the river. हमने सारा चीज देखा. उसके बाद nitrogen cycle we are going to discuss that. We know that there is a 78% of nitrogen is available in our atmosphere, and it is a very important cycle. Why? Because most of the nitrogen fixating substance are generally used in the plant process. So नाइट्रोजन का जो सबसे बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट रोल है वो ह्यूमन बींग्स पे भी है, एंड ऑल्सो इट इज यूज्ड इन द प्लांट सेक्शन ऑल्सो। क्यों? क्योंकि प्लांट्स में बहुत सारे नाइट्रोजनस सब्सटेंस को फिक्स किया जाता है, जैसे राइजोबियम, एजिटोबैक्टर, ठीक है, ताकि हमारी जो सॉइल है उसकी फर्टिलिटी, जो उपजाऊपन है वो बन सके। एंड आफ्टर दैट इफ वी विल प्लांट एनी सीड्स, इट विल गेट वेरी फास्टली जर्मिनेशन। अगर हम किसी भी सीड को किसी सॉइल के अंदर अगर उसको हम इंसर्ट करते हैं, डेफिनेटली the seed will be grow very quickly. So that is the use of fertility of soil, and most important, fertility of soil can be increased by the nitrogen. So nitrogen cycle is a very important thing for the human beings as well as plants also. ओके क्योंकि बहुत सारी चीजें जो है नाइट्रोजन साइकिल से पॉसिबल है, ठीक है। आफ्टर दैट कमिंग टू द नेक्स्ट एंड मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट हियर कार्बन साइकिल। ओके, वी हैव डिस्कस्ड नाइट्रोजन, नाउ सेकंड इज कार्बन साइकिल, एंड वी नो दैट carbon dioxide and oxygen also, but carbon is a very important element, and it is also used in the so many places, because without carbon, CO2, coming to the example CO2, अगर कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड की बात करते हैं, so कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड की अगर कमी हो जाएगी, so there is a lack of producers की भी कमी होगी। why? Because plants are taking carbon dioxide, and if plants are generally taking carbon dioxide, and if you are not providing the CO2, it means plant will not respire, and if the plant will not respire, definitely they will die. So plant के die होने से producers की कमी होगी, और if there is a less of producers, consumers भी कम होंगे। why? Because most important point we have to discuss that producers जो होते हैं वो plants होते हैं, क्योंकि यहाँ पे चीजों को produce कर रहे हैं plants। So plants is called producer because they are producing lots of things. They are called producers जो चीजों को बनाकर दे रहे हैं, and they are called also producer and autotrophic. Second most important, consumers is also there. What is the meaning of consumers? So जो consumers होते हैं generally, most of the consumers are generally take the food from the producers. ये consumers में जैसे हम बात करते हैं तो यहाँ पे animals आते हैं, ठीक है। So these animals are generally adopted and habitual to taking their food from the producer. ये अपना खाना लेने के लिए वो producers के ऊपर fit होंगे। So that is the most important and interesting thing. So most important अगर हम बात करते हैं, if there is a less of carbon cycle, there is also a less of different types of systematic things in plant system, and it is also used in the many more things. बहुत सारी जगह पे कार्बन साइकिल का यूज होता है। ओके, बट इट इज नॉट सो मेनी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट फॉर योर एग्जाम पर्पस, बट हियर आई हैव टोल्ड यू व्हाट इज द यूज ऑफ कार्बन, व्हाट इज द यूज ऑफ वाटर साइकिल। वाटर साइकिल इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंड इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक बिकॉज it is a very high scoring marks questions comes in the exams also, and nitrogen cycle is also used, but there is a preparation of most of the topic, like so many times the questions may be asked that what is the use of nitrogen and what is the use of carbon. Okay, so you all have to revise only the uses of nitrogen, uses in the field, agriculture field. Carbon is also used in the production of so many producers, and we know that if there is a lots of producer, definitely the consumers will also be lots of, and if there is a less of producers, then definitely the consumers will also less. Now coming to the next point, we have to discuss that adject meaning of oxygen cycle. Okay, oxygen cycle, come to the next part, it is the most important. We know that there is a oxygen level is a very important in our environment, because without oxygens no any living beings, maybe plants, maybe एनिमल्स एंड मे बी ह्यूमन बींग्स कैन नॉट सर्वाइव। अगर प्लांट्स को CO2 नहीं मिला, ह्यूमन बींग्स को, एनिमल्स को जो भी ऑक्सीजन वगैरह मिलते हैं, अगर प्रॉपर इफ यू आर नॉट प्रोवाइडिंग, डेफिनेटली दे विल डाई, वो खत्म हो जाएंगे। एंड दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट, इट इज कॉल्ड एटमॉस्फेरिक नाइट्रोजन। सम ऑफ द नाइट्रोजन्स आर सम ऑफ द ऑक्सीजन्स आर आल्सो एज ऑर्गेनिक मॉलिक्यूल्स कम्स इन द क्लास, एंड दे मेक all over the process, and that is called oxygen cycle. In this there is a respiration systems is there, respiration सांस लेने के लिए काम होता है, and also it takes place participate in CO2, and it also takes place participate in H2O, and it also takes place oxygen in photosynthesis process. So all the process are generally similar, and they already cyclic form. By this they are generally and most important for the human beings as well as plants as well as animals also, and they actually run by the same pattern in every day. Okay, this is called the oxygen cycle. And oxygen, we know that what is the exact use of oxygen and what is the importance use of oxygen, we know very well. Okay, so this is all about the oxygen cycle. Okay, now the most and precious topic of today class is that so many times the questions maybe arises that what is the meaning of greenhouse effect. Okay, here I have written here greenhouse effect, and it is a short form greenhouse effect. So what is the meaning of greenhouse effect? Greenhouse effect का मतलब क्या होता है? Suppose when we know that when the CO2 means carbon dioxide, when methane, when nitrogen oxide, and when CFC chlorofluorocarbons are generally keeps in our environment for a long time, और ज़्यादा समय के लिए अगर ये present होंगे in our environment, our environment will become warm and that causes greenhouse effect. इसी को हम greenhouse effect कहते हैं. Okay, so most important, when the different and harmful gases and radiations are generally trapped by our environment due to some harmful particles, and that time they release in a very high amount of ultraviolet rays, that time our earth will feels a very hot environment, that is called greenhouse effect. Okay, greenhouse effect is most important phenomena, and it is also considered as, sometimes the greenhouse effect is also considered as global warming. Why? Because in global warming most of the cases, like in global warming, if there is a lots of harmful radiations and also the radiation in a high intensity of warmness, due to the causes they causes as global warming. Global warming is also a term which is related to greenhouse effect. Okay, but global warming means there is a high intensity of radiation. Due to the high intensity of radiation our earth will become very warm, बहुत गर्म हो जाता है, that causes global warming. And but in greenhouses these are the effectiveness of gases that causes greenhouse effect. Okay, so in next phase we have to discuss that the greenhouse effect, and these are the very important agents which are generally causes the greenhouse effect. And mostly when the earth our warms, it causes global warming. Okay, global warming, most important. Okay, so at last we are going to discuss the what is the meaning of ozone layer. Okay, so coming to the next point, we have to discuss that ozone layer. Okay, we are going to discuss the meaning of ozone layer. What is the meaning of ozone layer? Actually we know that sometimes ozone layer is a very important and it is present in our stratosphere. ये हमारे stratosphere में present है, but it work as a protecting shield. इसका जो काम है generally it works as a protecting shield. इसका protecting shield का काम होता है. But sometimes when the ultraviolet harmful radiations are generally get damaged to the ozone layer and it get burst, and our earth will also feels a lots of radiations and lots of harmful warmness by the action of UV rays are called ozone depletion. उसी हम ozone depletion कहते हैं. Most important, greenhouse effect means if there is a certain types of, it is also greenhouse effect means this temperature is also comes in the lower temperature also. Lower temperature में भी green houses हमको देखने को मिल सकती है, but global warming always comes in the class of higher intensity of radiation that comes in the class of warmness, जो कि सबसे ज़्यादा गर्मी बढ़ाती है, that is called global warming. ग्रीन हाउस इफेक्ट में जनरली जो रेडिएशंस होते हैं वो ट्रैप्ड होने की वजह स्कैटरिंग होते हैं, ठीक है, वो ग्रीन हाउस इफेक्ट है. एंड मोस्टली वी हैव डिस्कस which type of agents are generally causes greenhouse effect, like we have discussed CO2, methane, chlorofluorocarbon. These are the agents which causes greenhouse effect. Okay, which also affect in our green scenario. And global warming, the increase in temperature are called global warming in our earth. And ozone depletion, what is the meaning of ozone depletion? Suppose this is the earth. Okay, ये earth है and this is the atmosphere. ये atmosphere है हमारा एटमॉस्फेयर, एंड दिस इज द लेयर ऑफ ओजोन. ठीक है, और ये जो लेयर है हमारा ओजोन लेयर है, ठीक है, विच इज प्रेजेंट इन स्ट्रेटोस्फीयर. ये एटमॉस्फेयर है एंड ओजोन लेयर इज प्रेजेंट इन द फील्ड ऑफ स्ट्रेटोस्फीयर. बट व्हेन द हार्मफुल रेडिएशन ऑफ सनलाइट फॉल्स ऑन, ये यहाँ से रेडिएशन जब आते हैं इनके, ठीक है, ये रेडिएशन है, ये सन है, ठीक है, दिस इज द सन और ये रेडिएशन है। सो व्हेन द रेडिएशन ऑफ, रेडिएशन भी कैसा, यूवी रेज, ठीक है, जो कि बहुत हार्मफुल होती है। दिस इज द अर्थ इन स्पेयर फॉर्म में, आउटर स्ट्रक्चर इज एटमॉस्फेयर एंड दिस इज द आउटर मोस्ट इज ओजोन लेयर विच इज प्रेजेंट इन स्ट्रेटोस्फेयर। सो व्हेन द हार्मफुल रेज आर यूवी रेज आर कम्स फ्रॉम द सन, दैट टाइम दे मेक्स होल, ओके, यहां से ये क्या करते हैं, यूवी रेज इनको होल करके सीधे यहां पे अटैक करते हैं। ओके, सो दैट इज अटैकिंग पॉइंट इज कॉल्ड ओजोन डिप्लीशन। क्यों? क्योंकि इन्होंने ओजोन के शील्ड को यहां से डिप्लीट कर दिया, यहां से खत्म कर दिया। तो जब ये यहां से इसको डिप्लीट कर दिए, खत्म कर दिए, तो इसी को हम ओजोन डिप्लीशन कहते हैं। इसका मतलब हमारा जो ओजोन है वो पूरी तरीके से डिप्लीट होते जा रहा है। डिप्लीट मतलब खत्म होना, दैट इज कॉल्ड ओजोन डिप्लीशन। एंड इफ देयर इज अ पॉसिबिलिटीज ऑफ ओजोन डिप्लीशन, इट मींस देयर इज अ नंबर ऑफ chances of different types of disease. Why? Because if the UV rays reaches in our earth, definitely human beings survive for most of the skin cancers disease, क्योंकि UV radiations बहुत harmful होती है हमारे human beings के लिए, क्योंकि ये बहुत सारे disease carry करती है। and also it affects on the plants also in a small organism also, जैसे बैक्टीरिया है, फंजाई है, माइक्रोब्स है, ये उनके ऊपर भी इनका इफेक्ट होता है। and it is all work is done by ओजोन लेयर डिप्लीशन, जो कि पूरा का पूरा ओजोन लेयर डिप्लीशन के कारण होता है। ओके, सो अगर डिप्लीशन होगा तो हमारे अर्थ पे जितने भी लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म हैं उनके ऊपर भी बहुत बड़ा अफेक्ट होगा और ये बहुत बड़ा इम्पैक्ट रोल प्ले करते हैं। ठीक है, इससे बहुत सारे ह्यूमन बींग्स, बहुत सारे एनिमल्स और बहुत सारे प्लांट्स की भी डेथ हो जाती है। एंड दैट इज ऑल done by the ultraviolet rays which is generally transmit from the different types of section from the suns। ठीक है, जो सन से अलग अलग प्रकार की जो रेस निकलती है वो हमारे लेयर को डिप्लीट करती है, दैट इज कॉल्ड ओजोन डिप्लीशन। वी हैव डिस्कस ओजोन लेयर, वी हैव डिस्कस ग्रीन हाउस गैस, वी हैव डिस्कस ग्लोबल वार्मिंग ऑल्सो। नाउ दिस इज योर homework, you have to give me the answers of ozone layer depletions and you have to give me the answer of global warming. This is your 2 homework. Write down the meaning of global warming and write down the meaning of ozone layer depletion. This is your 2 homework, and till whatever I have taught you, this is all about your natural resources. In next phase we will discuss a new chapter and that is our last chapter. Okay, this is our 6th chapter of biology chapter. Okay, thank you students.